I can't even imagine. Have you heard those words and thought, neither can I? But then, it happened. Life took a turn you weren't expecting, and somehow you kept going. You are not alone. Your story matters, and we're here to talk about it. We're two moms, lifelong best friends, and we know what it's like when life throws the unexpected our way. Here we share real stories of struggle, strength, and hope. Because through every challenge, a new path unfolds, and where hardship meets strength, purpose is found. Welcome to episode 25 of I Can't Even Imagine. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Victoria. Today we're talking with Jennifer Barone. She's a mom of 4, and her story is one that'll stick with you. Jennifer grew up in a really tough environment, a hoarder home and a lot of chaos. And she opens up about how that shaped her, especially as a new mom raising 3 kids with special needs. She doesn't hold anything back. We talk about what it was like becoming a teen mom, getting caught up in an abusive relationship, battling addiction, and the moment she knew something had to change. Jennifer also shares the heartbreaking journey of her youngest child's medical diagnosis and the emotional roller coaster that came with it. This episode is about resilience in every sense of the word, what it looks like to keep showing up when life knocks you down, and how healing is possible even in the middle of the mess. If you've ever felt overwhelmed or stuck, this conversation is a powerful reminder that hope is still out there. Let's get into it.
Well, Jennifer, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you making the trek into the studio.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your backstory and I guess starting in your childhood.
So, first and foremost, I am a mother of 4. 3 of my children are special needs. And there is just a story ahead of what my experience with that is. But of course, there's always a beginning. I'm 35 years old. I grew up in New York, moved to Staten Island when I was 8 years old. From there, that's, kind of like, I feel like I was no longer a baby, right, at that point. That's just kind of like where I really remember everything. I don't like to say that even though I have a story, that doesn't mean everything was just so awful. You can have a story and it could be the best story in the world, right?
Right.
So I don't like to sit here and say like, oh my God, like everything was just awful, because I have something to tell,
Right. But what you've been through has shaped who you are today and how you mother your children, I'm sure.
Most definitely. It's how I mother my children, how I think of myself, how I am as a lifelong partner. It's definitely shaped me to who I am today. So to go back, without getting into the ridiculous details of everything, it was a pretty normal life to me. It seemed pretty normal. I kind of grew up in that almost like common household of I had a mom, I had a dad, they were together, something that you really don't see too often anymore, right? Like it's, just kind of like that product of divorce and stuff like that, but no.
It's rare when I meet somebody whose parents have been together since, especially our age, it's very rare.
Yeah, most definitely. And, I have 2 brothers and a sister. So I have 4 children. My mother had 4 children.
Where are you in that lineup?
I'm the baby.
Okay.
I am the baby.
Aw.
Thinking back, everything just seems so normal, right? Mom, dad, siblings, home in what I guess you can call the suburbs of New York. And then it wasn't until I was much older when I realized, like, no, this wasn't right. This wasn't okay. So to give context, I grew up in a home where it wasn't the best. Basically, it was like almost like a stage 5 hoarder type of situation. And just to go back a little bit further, I was in a Brooklyn apartment where I was the top floor with my little family. The middle floor was my grandmother and my grandfather, and my uncle who has Down syndrome, so he was always with her. And then the bottom floor was more family, so it was all of us together.
Now, is this one apartment that is all interconnected, like a condo? like
So
a townhouse, or is
like,
it everybody has separate front doors?
Everybody had a separate front door,
Okay.
but kind of like a brownstone.
That's kind of nice. I mean, if you live with a nice family, that's kind of cool to have family around.
Yeah, and back then it was amazing, right? Because we were all really little. Like everybody, like my parents and aunts and uncles, like had children all within the same time frame, so we were all together. But like I said, getting older and looking back, it's like, oh, that wasn't cool. But the environment, the physical environment that I was in I'm not quite sure what the mindset was of my parents, but there was just things.
Who was the hoarder? Was it your mom or your dad?
I'm gonna say it was my dad. I don't want to say like this is like some sort of medical diagnosis, because that's not my business if he is or isn't. This is strictly my opinion. I just remember that I didn't grow up in the best physical environment.
As far as like cleanliness was concerned, or
Correct.
just the amount of stuff?
Both.
Yeah.
Both, to be honest.
What did he hoard?
Food was a really big thing.
Like prepper kind of style hoarding,
Oh,
or like dirty, like leaving containers and stuff like everywhere?
That is actually still a running joke in my family of what in the Y2K doomsday prepper was happening, and we had no clue that this wasn't normal.
Right. I do. And like, I am actually a part of like some prepper groups, because I think that there is like a healthy level of like preparedness for people. Because I'm like, we have ridiculous
for
hurricanes down here. So like, I've kind of learned a little bit about canning and like the process of like, putting things away and saving things for emergencies. So I believe that there is a healthy level, but there's also a very unhealthy level. So I'm assuming he was at that kind of stage.
It wasn't until the point where we went from an apartment to a house, a 2-story house. And it wasn't until I realized that I'm literally walking there's a pathway just to get to different rooms of the house, because there was just stuff everywhere all the time.
Okay.
Again, wasn't even something that I was thinking
that was your normal.
Yeah, it wasn't even really a thing that I just thought was, again, and maybe it's not horrific, but it wasn't great.
Yeah.
Until I was way older and living on my own, that I was like, oh, that wasn't right. That, I shouldn't have had to step over bags of groceries all the time.
Right. And it was this kind of like, shelf stable food.
Definitely. Yeah. There was no room at a kitchen table to eat over time, because there would just be like fruits and vegetables everywhere, to the point of fruit flies.
Right.
That you would want to just kind of close yourself off into a bedroom, because you didn't want to walk into the cloud of bugs and fruit flies. And again, back then I had no clue.
Right.
Yeah.
I had no clue that wasn't right, and that's not normal.
Yeah.
But moving forward, life goes on, and it is what it is. And this was my household, and these were my parents, and this was my family, right? So you just move on. It's not even a thing in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
What was the like emotional temperature of your house?
Oh, gosh. It was almost like you wanted to just stay out of the way type of situation. I mean, I wasn't treated horribly. My parents absolutely loved me, and I was a spoiled kid.
You were the baby.
Yeah, I still am, right? But it was growing up, I was the kid that if I asked for something, I got it. It was just how it was. Again, looking back, I never noticed the abuse that was happening in the household. It was a very angry household. It was depressing and tiring, and I'm going to keep saying it. I just didn't realize it until I got older and had my own household of how it actually was.
Right.
I guess I'll never really get an answer as to why it was that way. And to be quite honest, it's just not something that I'm really looking for either, because I can only move on.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think that's healthy.
Yeah. I mean, we try to be healthy, right? But it was angry. It was depressing.
And was that visible in the relationship between your parents or parents' relationship with each other? Because you said, you felt very loved.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming that anger and that whatever tension was more so between them and not them directed at the children.
Correct. I mean, I have older siblings that during their teenage years, they were teenagers, right? And I kind of witnessed all of that.
Did you say they're all boys?
No. I have 2 older brothers and then an older sister.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But they had a lot of things going on in their teenage lives, and I kind of just sat back because I didn't want to be the problem child, right?
Yeah.
So I just kind of sat back just okay, they've got their own things going on. And
you're learning from their mistakes.
Yeah,
okay, don't do that.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of a youngest sibling is you can kind of learn what is acceptable to your parents and what's not based on what your siblings do.
Well, in that moment, I didn't want that for myself. So I just kind of sat back. And again, I always got what I wanted. I was loved. And then as I got older, my siblings started having their babies pretty young, 17, 18 years old. Living life, it is what it is. And then at the ripe age of 15 is when I found myself pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah.
15, that's that's hard.
Yeah.
How did your parents take that?
Oh, gosh. It was a shock because I was that quiet kid.
Right.
Because I was that kid that sat in the corner and didn't want to be the bother. It was what just happened?
Yeah.
They really didn't know what you were up to.
No, they had no clue. And mind you, I went to a high school literally across the street from my house.
Right.
So, I don't want to say that I wasn't neglected. They were paying attention. By the time that I was 15, there was already 3 other babies in the household that were my nephews. So I got the attention that I needed, but I was, kind of on the wayside of it. So yeah, it was really unexpected for them.
Well, they had a lot going on. I mean, they're taking care of, they've got 4 kids, 3 babies in the home because their kids had kids at young ages.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of bandwidth for that youngest child to pay that much attention to them.
Yeah. And a part of me wants to say that I think I knew what I was doing.
Yeah. Well,
right?
We all think we do, right?
Yeah. I'm just going to go ahead and do what it is that I feel like because...
I mean, you knew how babies are made, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I think a part of me was just kind of well, that's not going to happen to me.
Right.
Because it happened to them.
Yeah.
So it's not going to happen to me.
Yeah.
Right. And plus, not that they're not 100% paying attention. It's just there was just a different focus in the household.
Yeah, of course. Understandably.
Yeah. So, at 15 years old, I found myself pregnant, making a very adult decision at that time. I had my oldest daughter 3 days after my 16th birthday.
Wow.
And I always say that I had a baby shower instead of a sweet 16. That's what I always like to say.
Oh, man.
And yeah, it's been an experience thus far. I was with her dad. I think I met him maybe just when I turned 15, if not a little bit before. And, things happen and I didn't realize the abuse that I was dealing with directly from him until probably way later into the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did he fight you on keeping the child?
Not really. It was shockingly with how abusive and controlling he was. His ridiculous concern back then was making it known that he was the one that took my virginity.
Oh, gross.
Yeah. He was just... I can't even wrap my brain around it. When I told him that I was pregnant, it was almost like this thing of, yep, took your virginity and got you
Badge
pregnant.
Of honor.
Yeah.
Ew.
Type
How
of
old
thing.
was he?
My age, 15, 16
God.
at the time. I think we're a year apart. So
Oh my God, I have a 15-year-old son. That just grosses
thinking about
me
that.
out. I mean, I have a 19-year-old daughter now, and I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I had her 3 days after my 16th birthday. Being a mother at 16 years old, I didn't even, when you're living life, you don't realize the challenges, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when everything is going on, you don't even realize what's happening because you're just living. But I was a 16-year-old mother in that household.
Yeah, with the hoarding.
In that household of, besides the physical of, uncleanliness of the home, which I could have taken a part of, right? Like I could have been the one to like get down and dirty and clean.
Yeah, but also
like
like it's pretty typically like understood that hoarders don't want their stuff messed with. They have a connection to it in some way.
Oh, I can't even tell you the fights that I have been into trying to throw things away over the years.
Right.
But I was 16 with a baby, living with my parents who had their 4 children, who had now 4 grandchildren. Right. Now, by the time that I had my daughter, there were only 2 grandkids in the house at that time.
Including your daughter?
Yes, if I'm remembering correctly, because this is 19 years ago. There were only 2 grandkids at the time, but it was just a constant busy household of what I couldn't even tell you. Yeah. I really just don't even know. It was just constant. And maybe it was that uncleanly environment that like always felt like something was busy. It just always felt like something was happening.
Well, I know I tend to clutter areas before I get so sick of it. But when I live in a cluttered environment, my head is so cluttered. Mm-hmm. Like I cannot think straight. Yeah. And I still tend to find myself cluttering things. And I'm just like, what is wrong with me?
That reminds me of a little story this morning. So my daughter is 10 and she's like very creative brain child. She's always a mess, right? Her room's a disaster all the time, no matter how many times we clean it. But when it's clean, she's like a whole different person. She's just like basking in like the sunlight, like she's just on cloud 9. And so last night she was telling me how she cleaned out her backpack. And I was like, oh, awesome. And this morning she was so excited to show, Mom, come over here. Look at my backpack. Look at my backpack. She was so proud of herself that she cleaned and organized her backpack. And she's like, look where this is and look where that is. She's like, it looks so good. It makes me so happy. And I was like, okay, think about that. And she's like, don't say it, Mom. I'm like, just think about it. How would you feel if your room looked like that? Don't say it, Mom. She's like cutting me off. She's like, I know what you're going to say. She's like, stop it right now. I'm like, because you feel better. I'm like, I'm the same way. It's okay. You can admit it. Yeah. You are loving the fact that your backpack is organized and it's put you in such a good mood. Now, like, if your living space was that way, just imagine how you'd feel.
Yeah. It's not that easy, though.
It's not. But
she's a kid, just responsible for one room. Like,
yeah. Totally.
Come on.
Totally.
Yeah. But yeah, it was, at this point, again, had a baby and just living in that household, just kind of doing the like day-to-day of being a new mom. Probably one of the most intense things is being a teenager and being a mom and finding yourself.
Yeah.
And that's challenging for any new mom.
Yeah.
But especially for a teenager.
Yeah.
I feel like I didn't find myself until long after my kids were older. I still haven't found myself 100%.
Yeah. But it's trying to find yourself on top of kind of dealing with the type of relationship that I was in. Mm-hmm. And living with my parents because I was just kind of letting them take reign. I just told myself that I didn't know what I was doing and that I didn't know how to raise a baby and do anything on my own. And not to say that my parents raised my oldest daughter. I did, go back to school for a little bit and then work. But for the most part, they were taking care of her a lot. And
they had a lot of
influence?
Yes.
Influence. Thank you. That was my word. They had a lot of influence.
Yeah, they definitely did. But I guess I just didn't realize that I was starting to parent how they did instead of finding myself and how it was that I wanted to parent. Mm-hmm. But she's 19 years old now and she's, doing great. But then also being in the relationship with her dad at the same time, it was so hard to focus on what it is that I needed to do. So, because at the end of the day, I had to protect her. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to say it for what it is. He wasn't an awful dad, to be honest, barely there because he was in his own world and living his own life, essentially. And I will never forget the day where he was, I was home taking care of our child. He was like hanging out with friends at the corner. I'm 16, he's 17.
Was he living with you at the time?
At the time, yes.
Okay.
I believe
In
so.
your parents' house?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this kid has been hanging out for hours somewhere. Where is he? And I go and find him and I start just going off. I'm just kind of like, I didn't do this by myself, like, like she's yours too. You need to take care of her too.
Be present.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And I will never forget when he said, I'm only 17. I need a life too.
Yes. And part of me wants to say this is a PSA for teens, right? Because he's not wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
You and him should never have had this child.
Correct.
That this is exactly why people want to avoid teen pregnancy, right? Because he is only 17.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to have a life.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, you should not have done what you did to get a girl pregnant, because now you are 16 and you want a life too, but you don't have the luxury.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. In that moment, it was rage.
Oh, yeah.
100%. I'm not saying he was 100% wrong for even saying it.
Yeah.
But the thought, like, this is why kids shouldn't have kids.
Yeah.
Because this is exactly, you're no longer going to have the life that you crave.
Yeah, most definitely.
The life that you should be having with your friends on the corner hanging out is done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the double standard there is a whole nother. That's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah,
piss me off.
Most definitely.
I literally would have been like, you motherfucker.
Here's your fucking baby.
Yeah. And if I didn't like feel the need to just protect her so much, maybe I would have done that, right? Like hand her off and been like, you take care of your kid. I didn't do this by myself.
Right, but he obviously is not probably very trustworthy, so I wouldn't have handed my kid to him either, so I get it.
Exactly. But over the course of the years, as my daughter is getting older, I'm still living with my parents.
Well, how much money can a 16-year-old honestly be making?
Zero.
Right.
Zero is
probably
that
didn't
number.
finish high school right away?
Nope.
Right.
Nope.
So, you're limited on your income ability.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have kids at 16 and we didn't make shit. And
Dude, I was so fucking poor. I was so poor when I had my first few kids. Oh, my God.
I'm talking about when we were her age, like when we were working at 16. We didn't make...
I made $6.75 an hour after my raise.
Yeah, I think my top was like $6.50 an hour.
Yeah. So, I mean, that just goes to show how much like my parents did support me, right? Because you think I was buying diapers at 16 years old? No, I had no means to do that.
I feel like as somebody who chose to have children, I also, if my kids behave in a way that, I'm not proud of, then I choose to help them. It's what you do. I mean, what am I going to kick my kid out? Hopefully this doesn't happen to me, but you're responsible.
Yeah.
This is your child. You are now responsible for them and their child to financially help them.
And that's exactly what it was. But I also like tend to feel bad because this was their third or fourth round doing that, because it was all like the same story from my siblings is had a baby, really didn't, have too many means. I mean, they're amazing parents. And of course, as we all got older, they take care of their children. But in the beginning, when we were 15, 16, 17, 18, having those babies, it was my parents that were essentially putting food on the table.
Yeah.
Well, what I should say is my father putting food on the table. My mother, in her 61 years, never worked a day in her life.
What did he do for a living? Because, my God.
I think about the cost of food. And if there's food all over the house all the time, and he's supporting 4 kids plus
4 grandkids.
4 grandkids. All in the house at one time.
Teach us his ways.
How much money? What did he do?
He worked for a local gas company.
Really?
In New York, yeah.
Okay.
For a very long time. Right up until I actually had my daughter.
Just like a regular employee? Like a union employee?
Yeah.
God, back then you could
do
so much with so little.
Yeah.
Right?
Staten Island.
And
it's not
prime
cheap.
New York. Yeah, Staten Island, New York.
Nothing in that area is cheap.
No, not at all. I left for a reason, right? But yeah, just over the years, my daughter's getting older, we're all just kind of living life. And I can't really say like when this specific moment of when I realized that I was actually being abused by her dad. There was always that emotional abuse. Like I said earlier, I'm telling this person that I'm pregnant, and he was more concerned about everybody knowing that he took my virginity and having a baby.
So
yeah. And it just didn't click of like what kind of person he was.
Well, probably because he spoke sweet nothings to you, right? I love you so much. You're so beautiful.
I really wish that was the case. No, I
Really?
was just stupid. I really was. I really was just stupid.
I think you were naive. I wouldn't call you stupid.
Like, I really just didn't understand it. So
Was it just purely like a physical attraction to each other?
I guess maybe back then. Or maybe I was just kind of repeating what my mother did because
Like what you knew.
yeah.
Well, what drew you to him in the first place?
Oh gosh, we're gonna tell that.
You said you needed questions. I'm asking.
The first time I laid eyes on that man, he was getting arrested.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I have a problem. I
Oh,
have
it's
a serious
a bad
problem.
boy thing.
I have such a serious
see.
problem, and over this next 2 hours or whatever that we have, you're gonna be like, "Are you okay?" The answer is no. The answer is no. I have a problem.
Well, it's a good thing that one of our very first guest was a therapist, so I'll give you her card. I'm just kidding.
Oh gosh. But yeah, the first time that I laid eyes on that, well, he's a man now. Back then he was a child. He was getting arrested because he was at the school that we both went to. He wasn't supposed to be there, and he was there. So they were arresting him
Why
for
wasn't he
that.
supposed to be there?
Oh gosh, I think there was some sort of issue where he had a physical altercation with a staff member,
Oh boy.
actually.
So
Yeah.
you like a bad boy.
I told you it's a problem.
No, it's not. Bad boys, they're in every romance novel for a reason,
Right?
Right? Every TV show,
Yeah, exactly.
But they always have this gooey heart in the, deep down.
Yeah, I mean,
Not him.
you said it earlier, right? You see my crybaby tattoo here. Why do I have that? Because I have a problem.
Is
There's
that like Johnny Depp crybaby?
Yeah.
God, he was so cute in that movie.
Oh yeah.
Thank you so much for agreeing
I'm
with that.
all over crybaby.
Top tier.
She
Johnny Depp.
loved
So-
that movie growing up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually gonna get the couple. I forget the name of that actress. I wanted to get the tattoo of them together because I have the Roger Rabbit up here.
Jessica Rabbit's so hot too, by the way.
Right?
I know, it's like
First girl crush.
right?
I'm like, am I in anime?
Right. That in Cool World. Remember Cool
No.
World? You don't remember Cool
No.
World? It was like it was like Roger Rabbit. It was half animated and half real life. The chicks in that were super hot.
Yeah.
Weird, those are female.
I will
Yeah,
say
so what?
there's
Jessica Rabbit.
something about
10
a
out of 10.
redheaded animated woman that
big
will
tiny waist and
yeah,
big
big
boobs.
women.
I mean, Jessica Rabbit, Poison Ivy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what was her name? Wilma Flintstone, something like
Oh,
that.
right.
Right? I mean, come on.
Yeah. It's
They all
true.
had something special.
Right.
Yeah, they did.
But yeah, I didn't realize what kind of relationship that I was in until my daughter got older. I remember, to kind of backtrack, when I was actually pregnant with her, he threw a full bottle of Gatorade directly at my face.
Oh my God.
Yeah, for not having a tuna sandwich ready on time. Yeah.
Over tuna?
Yeah, over a tuna sandwich. I'll never forget it. I was baffled, right? I'm just like, okay, maybe I just made it. I'm sorry. It wasn't that I didn't have it ready. I made it too soon. So by the time that he got to the sandwich, it was toasted. So with the tuna fish sitting on it, it was too soggy for him to eat. And he threw a full bottle of Gatorade at my face. And I was pregnant with his child at the time.
Fucking delinquent shithead.
Yeah.
And how do you put that in your head? Like, do you say to yourself, maybe he's having a bad day? Like, what do you say to make that okay in the moment?
It was my normal.
Okay. That's how your dad was to your mom.
It was my normal.
Yeah.
When I was younger, again, these are just all things that I didn't realize was happening until I got older and really took a look back. The random backslap or the awful words that they would say to each other.
Yeah.
Or the random hair pull, or the pushing into the wall. It was just normal. There was no need for me to question it. I was a child, right? So
Right.
why am I thinking like that? And then when it started happening to me, ooh, ow, it hurt, yeah, but I didn't question it.
Right.
It was my normal. I knew that it was wrong, right? But I just didn't do anything about it because I essentially realized that I was almost in the same situation as my mother was in.
I feel like, too, if I were in that situation, like if I were to come forth with that and try to pursue justice or, talk about it or whatever, try to get away from it, that would also you're at risk of exposing what's going on with your parents, and that could make things even worse.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely. Yeah. And it's just a truth that I don't think I was ever really ready to admit, right? Of having to admit the fact that the white picket fence that I thought was great really wasn't at the end of the day. That situation happened. She's getting older. I'm getting older. He's getting older, right? We're all just kind of living our life.
Did you guys move in together, like private, like separately outside of your parents?
No.
Okay.
We would never be able to do that.
What did your parents think of this guy?
Oh, gosh. Maybe like a side quest story that I can try to tell you is they absolutely hated him.
Okay, of course.
Rightfully so. And then down the line, he ended up stealing my dad's debit card and took out, I think, like $1,500 from my parents' bank. Was
he on drugs or just this entitled piece of shit?
He was on drugs.
Okay.
He was on drugs.
Okay.
So yeah, of course my parents were just like, fuck this guy. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. But what were they going to do?
Right.
Right? What were they going to do about it? As life goes on, I start working. He starts working. My parents are taking care of my daughter. I'm still living with them. And then these little things of like, I have to stay late at work start happening. Okay.
With him or
whatever.
with
you? With him. Start happening. I wouldn't hear from him for like days on end. I'm like calling his mom, like, is he at your house? Where is he? Nobody knows, whatever. And that's when I realized the addiction for him started happening.
What was he on?
At the time, it was pills.
Okay.
At the time, I believe it was Percocets back then.
Right.
And I am from a place where drug addiction is so prevalent. It's really awful. There was actually a point in time where they said that Staten Island was the hometown of heroin. So it's
cheaper than pills, so of course,
So it's really bad. But back then it was more of a pill thing at the time. You couldn't look around in a room and be like, oh, there isn't anyone here that isn't high.
Right.
It just wasn't a thing. So that started, and then those like little things would happen of, now that I'm working and I'm a controlling person, right? And so let me go back. I feel like his mindset was, I have an addiction. I'm a narcissist. I'm an abuser. I'm a controller. She's working. She's not going to fight me back. What am I going to do? I'm going to take anything and everything that she's got.
Yeah.
So I would work, and for what? He would take every single red cent. And then it got to a point of, this was a fear-based relationship. This was a 7-year relationship of nothing but fear. And, I can't even just be like, oh, it started here and it started there. It was just almost always, I just felt stuck. I had his baby. I'm also from a place where those toxic relationships were everywhere. They were absolutely everywhere.
Did your parents see what was happening? Did they ever say anything to you? I mean, I know that they had their own issues, but I mean, this is happening to their daughter. I know you said that they didn't like him, but did they see how he was treating you?
Yes and no. I mean, little things would happen here and there. Like one time my daughter, she was in her crib because she was like maybe a year old, something like that. And you remember those cribs that the side pulled down? I think those are a no-no now.
Are they?
I think so. I'm not entirely sure.
The ones that the bar raises up and down. Yeah.
And are they?
I think so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I had the same crib for all my kids secondhand. They never used it.
Well, I mean, rightfully so that they're a no-no now, because the story is I put her in the crib. I picked up the sidebar. I clicked it in. She was standing at the time, and I guess I didn't click it in all the way. So it dropped down and she fell out. That led into him directly punching me in the face.
Oh my God.
Yeah, just straight like square in the nose, which led to a swollen nose and a black eye, and having to tell the people around me, including my parents, like, yeah, kind of just fell
Yeah.
Went eye first into the doorknob, like
into the doorknob,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
like,
make whatever.
exactly.
Door jam, it got me.
Exactly. So like they knew, but like I was always going to give them any and every single excuse. And I also don't want to say that like this was like an everyday thing, right? It was just he couldn't control himself when he was angry. But then it got to a point of when he was in full drug addiction where I'm working hard for my money and I trying my best to support my daughter on my own without having to be the person that their parents are, just essentially taking care of her. And at this point, I'm like in my early 20s. But his addiction was just getting to the point where he was taking anything from me, everything and anything.
Been there.
Yeah. And I got into the mindset of, you know what? Fight me. You know, you want it, you're going to have to fight me for it.
Right.
And we did. We did.
You're like desperate at that point to like fight back in some way.
Yeah. So like I knew that I was going to give up. I knew this man was going to, you know, take control and like, you know, I wasn't going to be able to beat him. But I'm like, you know what, if I'm going to go down, I guess it's just going to be with a fight. So it was almost like every other weekend it was screaming matches and like pushing and hitting and just, it was.
Was he also still trying to be intimate with you too?
Yeah.
Yeah? Despite all that?
Yeah, definitely.
Were you on birth control at least at the time?
No.
Oh boy.
No. So that was really scary too.
Yeah.
Like making sure like things like that don't happen because, oh my gosh, like how much more stuck could I be?
Yeah.
You know, to try to wrap up that part of my life, it was a hard 7 years.
Yeah.
It really was. The in and out of my life, and I don't want to say in and out of my life like as if we broke up because he would never allow that to happen. If I tried to do that, all of the cheatings, like occasions that I found out, if I tried to bring that up to him, it was my fault.
Okay.
I mean, I remember a time.
Classic. He's classic narcissist. This is great.
I remember the time where I, you know, confronted him about it, and this is in front of his mother, and he starts chasing me around his mother's house. Screaming.
Was his dad abusive to his mom? Like, what did she have to say about this?
It's her son.
I know, but like if my kid even fucking glanced at a woman in an angry way in front of me, I'd hit his ass right upside the head. You know, how dare you?
I mean, I guess I can't.
Not on my watch, friend.
Yeah, I can't speak for that, right?
Yeah.
What I can tell you, do I think that she knew he was wrong? 100%. Only because I remember, because he was in and out of jail for the 7 years that we were together. And that was my freedom.
I was going to say, was that a big relief for you when he was in jail?
Oh my gosh, that was my freedom. And maybe this is probably something that I shouldn't be admitting, but I was young, right? I was 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. When I found out that he was arrested, I'm like, who's taking the baby?
Right. I can breathe.
Who's taking the baby? And she would be the one to either go out with me or take the baby for me to like breathe and be a person. So she knew. She knew that what her son was doing was wrong, but what is she going to do about it at the end of the day? I mean, he stole money from her, you know, like it was just a crazy environment that we were all kind of in at the time.
How did you get rid of this guy?
I'm going to be very transparent here. I went from one guy to the other.
Okay.
To be really, really just upfront and honest.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the man that I am with today, I could only imagine the environment that I would be in now.
Right.
I could only imagine.
Was this when he was in jail that you found somebody else?
No, he was not. He was living in another state. I was still in Staten Island, New York, but he was living in Jersey.
Okay.
With his family.
Did you like kick him out and say, get out and all that?
It was just a situation where my parents were just like, no, he's not coming back here anymore.
But you guys were still clearly together, just not living together.
Correct.
Like between you, you understood that you guys were still in this relationship.
Yeah. I mean, it was all I knew, right?
Yeah,
it was
of course.
It was just what it was. So like seeing him would be like every couple of days, he'd be like sleeping in someone's van just to like be on that side of the bridge to like make sure that I got paid and he got my money. Like,
okay, gross. Yeah.
Yeah, like it was constant. But it wasn't until I met my current partner is when I was finally able to, you know, I guess break free. I will thank him every single day for that. You know, it was a situation where I don't think I was going to be able to leave him on my own.
Yeah.
I really don't think so. I wasn't strong enough for that.
And you didn't really have a support system around you that could like help you. Everybody around you is in the same relationship. Like who's going to turn around and say, hey, this is not okay. Come with me.
Yeah.
I'll help you.
Yeah.
You know, take my hand. I'll guide you to get rid of this fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, we were all in just like this like hot bowl of soup, just kind of dealing with it like all
Everybody's
together.
dealing with it. Yeah.
Exactly. Or they were doing the same thing as him.
Right.
Right? Like by most of like family and friends were in slowly getting into that addiction. And
yeah. It was everywhere back then.
yeah, it was really bad. But to move on, you know, I met my current partner, and I think that's when this light bulb kind of hit for me. Like, oh, a relationship can be so different, right? And when I say in a light bulb of like, yes, I realize that, you know, the past has been wrong. But at this time, my daughter's older. She's 6 or 7 at this point. Well, 7, right? And I was kind of like given this opportunity to be a different person. Now, I will say because of the mindset that I had of her dad being in that full addiction, addicts were trash to me. I'm just going to be very honest. I would say brutal things to my family members that were drug addicts, him that was a drug addict, friends that were drug addicts. I was like, I just didn't see the point. I didn't understand it. And it wasn't until this newfound freedom, I was like, oh, he's not controlling me. I could do what I want, right? And, you know, I don't want to tell my partner's life story, but no, just to kind of like give some sort of context, he wasn't in the greatest relationship himself in, you know, in his terms. So we both kind of had this newfound freedom.
You guys were each other's escape.
Exactly, with each other. And as I'm going to say unfortunate, even for lack of a better word, I kind of went against my own beliefs. We ended up turning to the same drugs that everybody else was on because in my mind, the only thing that I could think of is we were free.
Right.
Right.
You can't beat them, join them.
Exactly. Like, that's just how I think of it is we just found this freedom. What are we going to do with it? We're just going to do what we want. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm 21, 22 years old at this time, still living with my parents. My parents still have 3 out of 4 children living with them, and we're just living off my parents. And still all of that other stuff is going on in the background. Right? All of the yelling, the screaming, the hoarding, the gross house that I grew up in, the abuse between my parents, all of that is still just happening in the background. And that's when my addiction started. That we had that freedom, we found those drugs, we were just kind of living. And I think at that point it was probably just like pills at that time. And then it got a little heavy. So that's when the heroin started. And then I found myself pregnant again. At this point, obviously, I stopped all of that.
Was that really hard for you?
I was not in full swing addiction at that point. You know, to kind of go back a little bit, I was more dabbling. Like,
it hadn't really gotten its claws into you yet.
Exactly. You know, I was still working a little bit. My partner at the time was still working for a little bit. And then when we were no longer working, that's kind of like, okay, a pill here, a pill there. And then when I found that I was pregnant with our first child, I was able to stop, right? So over that time frame, even though I was able to stop,
I was going to ask, was he?
He was not able to stop. The only way that I could really just describe it is you don't know when it happens. Like, it's not even, I can't even find words, to be honest with you. You just live your day to day and just realize, like,
you look back and you're like, holy shit, this has got a hold on me big time.
Yeah, like it happens so fast.
Yeah.
So moving on to having my son, which that was the first time that I ever gave birth without an epidural, just an FYI. I don't know if you guys have ever done that.
Yes, I have. Yep.
So, oh my gosh, that was a story.
Yeah.
So, you know, we had him and, you know, it was trying to be an eye opener for my partner at the time. Like, listen, you know, we have this baby now. Let's try our best to kind of be on that straight and narrow, I believe is the phrase. Yeah, that didn't really quite work.
No, of course not.
Because that's when I feel like I self-medicated. When my son was like, I want to say like 3-4 weeks old, that's when we found out he needed like a minor stomach surgery. And I almost kind of used it as an excuse, you know, like, oh my God, this is just so stressful.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go ahead and, you know, pop a pill or whatever. And it was the most minor thing. But I really, you know, looking back, I really think that I was just in that, you know, postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, not in the best environment.
We're living with and being a partner to somebody who is in a full-blown addiction.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
not exactly a recipe for, you know,
No.
positive.
Yeah. And I will always say, you know, because him and I have had those conversations, you know, where he feels like that he takes the blame because maybe I would have never done that. But I always try to tell him, like, I'm a big girl, believe it or not, you know, like I'm a big girl and I made that ridiculous decision.
Yeah, you could have said no.
Yeah.
Day one, you could have been like, yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. I did not.
Right.
I did not. So the first year of my son's life, at this point I had 2 kids, and trying to hide an addiction.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I was that girl that I would never, you guys are gross.
It's so gross, right?
I would never do that. But it definitely got a hold of me. I didn't even realize how bad it was until it turned into IV use.
Yeah.
Like the snorting the line of it first thing in the morning was no longer working.
Is that heroin itself or pills?
That
you're
was
snorting.
heroin.
Okay.
Yeah. We've moved on from pills
Okay.
at that point, and it was just what was available at the time. And I guess I just, you know, again, you just live your day-to-day life. And that year of like, no, tomorrow will be the day that I will stop. I'll wake up in the morning and everything's going to be great.
Were you still able to like function normally and still like take care of your kids? You were just like in a different headspace, or how did it make you feel?
So I will always say that, yes, I made the decisions that I made. They were awful, but I was functional.
Okay.
I was a functioning mom.
Functioning addict?
Yeah.
You weren't like the people that are like about to die on
Like
intervention.
strung out.
Correct. Like it was more of a medicine.
What did it do for you? I've the only thing I've ever done in my life is smoke weed. So I don't know what anything feels like. So what does that feel like?
I try my best not to glorify it because it's god awful.
Yeah.
Right. It's just not something
people
that
do it for a reason.
Oh, I know. But
Yeah.
but what does that particular, what you were addicted to, how did it make you feel?
I think I was addicted to the instant euphoria.
Of course.
The instant of being able, because, you know, my shoulders are like up here at all times and in my ears. And I think I was just more addicted to being able to just stop, to just relax, to turn my mind off.
Right.
Because
it mutes everything.
Yeah, I think that's what I was addicted to more than anything. And what happens when you're addicted to that drug in particular, you're chasing it from the first time that you ever felt it. So the first time that I ever snorted a line of heroin, I chased that feeling. Yeah. And to me, that's essentially what addiction is, right? Because you tried it that one time and you're hoping that that's what it's going to stay at. But you're just, exactly that, just chasing that.
Right. And it gets to a point when you're in your addiction, I imagine that you're using just enough to keep you not sick. You know, just to make sure that you can function, that you're not having the, you know, shakes and sleeping all day. And
you know, I have to say that I didn't even realize that I was in some sort of addiction because I was doing it every day, right? And then it became unavailable. And then I woke up and exactly that, the stomach pain, the headache, the body chills.
Yeah.
And then still needed to take care of 2 children.
Right. So now you're desperate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's when people steal, they lie, they cheat. Because they're desperate.
Exactly what happened.
Because you're so fucking sick.
Yeah. I will say that, you know, I tried my best to hold down a job during that time frame because I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to be the person that stole from their family, their friends. I didn't want to do these side hustles.
Were you still living with your parents at this time?
was.
Okay. No, I'm just asking because I'm just trying to get like kind of an understanding of like physically where are you during this time? Did your parents know about the addiction at that point?
I'm going to say no, because later on in life, in like actually recent years, talking to my siblings and being like, oh yeah, like remember like when Jen like railed that line, and my whole family's like, excuse me? Because they had no clue. They had no clue. So that time frame, which I'm just going to say it for what it is, I feel like I'm blessed for lack of a better word, because that was only a 1-year stint for me. It wasn't like I did it for 10 years. Like I realized what was happening. I was just kind of living my life and just doing what everybody else did at the time. And I was able to make it out of there.
How did you get off of it?
I moved.
Okay.
It was the only way.
And did you just like white knuckle it through the pain and through the sickness and through all of that and then just kind of move on?
Essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. I moved from Staten Island to Florida, and it just wasn't available, right?
Yeah.
It was just gone.
Right. And did you move with your partner?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep,
And did he get clean too?
Nope.
Okay.
That brings us to the next chapter.
Yes. Chapter 3. Florida.
Yeah. So when we first came down here, again, I had the 2 kids at the time. We were living in an apartment. He was working. And without the tiny little details, it just became available for him.
Sure. And listen, you can find it anywhere.
Oh,
if you want it, you can
When
find
there's
it.
a will,
The
there's a
beauty
way.
of an addict is that they are so resourceful.
Mm-hmm.
If they just turned that resourcefulness into something positive for their life, man, they could be so successful.
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely. I agree. But there isn't like this major, story of just like, this and that happened. We just lived.
Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, the addiction didn't really stop for him. We had an apartment. We're both working. We're just kind of living our lives. And the pills are just still kind of going.
And what year was this?
This was 2014 is when I moved down here. The experience of being an addict and then also being the partner of an addict, there's not a lot of words.
Yeah.
It's just something that you can't really explain, because especially being both at some point, you feel so hard for them. Mm-hmm. You really do, because watching somebody just kind of destroy themselves when you know that they're just really not that person, and not being able to help them is just I just feel like that there isn't any words. You just don't know what to do.
Addiction changes you. Mm-hmm. When you're in an active addiction, you're a completely different person.
None of it felt real.
It steals your soul.
It really does. It really does. You just become a totally different person. But I was finally out of it. He unfortunately found himself just kind of reeling back in. So like we were clear from like the hard stuff, right? Because we moved. And then after moving, he kind of crept back into it. So it's like kind of like how we were starting back then. It's like all over again. Okay, a pill here, a pill there. The hardest time of addiction is not the physical part. You'll get over that cold. Yeah. Your body will stop shaking.
Yeah.
The headache will stop. The stomach ache will stop. Your mind won't.
Right. Yeah, you're obviously doing drugs for something other than... You start for a different reason than the physical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was actually a point where when I was living in New York, and my partner and I actually came to Florida for like a good 2 weeks just to kind of like vacation.
Mm-hmm.
He was clear, right? Everything was fine. And then we went back because you just did 2 weeks. You went through the sick.
Yep.
Right? Now everything is out of your system. We go back home, back to New York, and it just takes that one phone call. It takes that 1 second of knowing that it's here, of knowing that it's available, that you just start all over again. The physical part will never be the worst of it. It's always going to be that mental part that gets a hold of you more than anything.
Yeah.
While he was, kind of dabbling back in, that's when I found out I was pregnant with my third. We were still living in an apartment at the time. And, it's not like none of these major things happened. We're just kind of living life. Okay, now we are on baby number 3. The little pills for him are still happening here and there. Life goes on, so on and so forth. We ended up, moving into a house, and that's, again, the little addiction thing was still kind of happening for him. It wasn't like this, like, crazy situation like it was before we moved. And then I got pregnant with my 4th.
How many years were between the 3 kids that you had with him?
So it's 2 years between the first 2, and then like 15 months between my 2 youngest ones. I also want to admit that between having my third and fourth, I started dabbling in the pills with him as well. Also the random, like, oh, all I got is, Coke, whatever. If that's all you got, then it is what it is. So like I started to dabble a little bit here and there too, but I knew that I had control. I wasn't there yet.
Right. Could get there, but you weren't there
yet. It's definitely always going to be there, right? But then I got pregnant with my fourth. And that is when, things kind of took a really big turn. I didn't even realize, even with like growing up with like addicts all around me, how in full swing he actually was. I didn't realize what was going on around me. And that was because, one, I'm pregnant with a fourth child. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, oh my gosh, like this, everything just happened so fast,
and
right?
You're taking care of 3 others.
Yeah. And, still working full time. So everything just happened so fast that I didn't even realize that he was in a full swing addiction.
When you were working, where were your children?
Various family members.
Oh, did your family move down here too?
He had family. He has family here. That's how we came down here.
Got it.
Because I knew nobody on this side of Florida. So I got pregnant with my fourth. There was a little bit delayed prenatal care for that pregnancy due to insurance. So finally getting into a doctor, again, not realizing that this man is in full swing of addiction.
Yeah.
Like I felt like maybe I knew now that I'm thinking about it, but I guess I just wasn't paying attention.
You were occupied.
Yeah, there was just so much, again, just like that sideline stuff of life, you don't realize what's going on.
Right.
And it wasn't until I went into the doctor and they did an anatomy scan. This is like 20 weeks into pregnancy at this point. And I'm just thinking like, oh, I'm going to find out what the baby is and just move on, right?
Right.
That's when they told me that they noticed that her head circumference is bigger than what it should be for that time frame. And I'm like, okay, so what are we going to do? And they were like, well, you have to go for like a fetal MRI and stuff like that. But, in between that, they were very honest with me. And they were like, you're more than likely your child has hydrocephalus. And then we were just kind of like in a new chapter of everything. So finding that out, and in the midst of the 1,000,001 doctor's appointments, I have doctors telling me that it's more than likely she's not going to survive. Maybe the most that I'll get with her is like 5 days, because they were thinking trisomy. They were thinking, a bunch of other things. So they were essentially just giving her a lifeline. And every single doctor appointment was, you should terminate, you should terminate, you should terminate. And it got to a point where I really had to deeply consider this possible of making this type of decision.
But that's really far into your pregnancy at that point, right? If you didn't get that initial ultrasound until the 20-week mark, and now we're talking terminate. How does that even work?
You're probably feeling your baby move at that point too.
Yeah, because terminating at that far, you'd have to deliver that baby yourself.
Essentially, I want to say from when I found out what was going on and between like, hopping around appointments, they were bringing up termination probably up until like 26-ish, 28 weeks, like around there. And just even all the appointments after that, they were just...
And is this just, they're saying terminate for you to not have to deal with a baby that you have to physically birth and then watch pass away? Is it more for just your comfort or for your health or for what was the goal?
I want to say almost overall.
Okay.
I already had 3 children.
Right.
Something that, I wasn't really admitting to these doctors is that my partner is in full swing addiction at the same time. 3 kids, pregnant with a special needs baby. It got to a point where I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm really going to have to consider doing this. I didn't want to be that person to have to give birth and then just not know what was going to go on. The unknown during that pregnancy was a feeling of just despair. Mm-hmm. It was 9 months of just despair because I didn't know. what are the plans going to be?
Yeah.
It was so hard. First of all, I found out that I'm having my second daughter after having two boys, right? So that was really exciting. And like, I couldn't get excited about having another little girl because it was a possibility that I wasn't going to have her at the end of the day.
Right.
So there was a point in my pregnancy where they were like, if you're going to make this decision, you have to make it now. And I booked that appointment because how am I going to take care of my other kids?
Right.
How am I going to take care of myself?
How are you going to work full time with a special needs kid?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like how is this? It's just not possible, right? Nevertheless, I like to say like, yes, I'm the one that made that decision, right? But I will always think of my partner's mom in this situation because if it wasn't for her, I think I probably would have made the other decision, to be honest with you. I think it was just like, do your research, like really think about this. And I even had a family member with the same diagnosis and what, she's thriving and everything. But like, again, the unknown was so...
How bad is it going to be?
Exactly. It was so uncomfortable for me. How do I know that I'm not about to have this baby and this baby's going to pass away in 5 days? Like it was just so uncomfortable that I almost made the decision to just not deal with it at all, just move forward, right? But I will say, yes, I did make that decision at the end of the day, but I will always
The decision to
not terminate.
Gotcha.
I will always thank my partner's mom at the end of the day because it was just like, really think about this. Mm-hmm. Do your research.
Did you show up to the appointment and then turn around, or did you just not go?
No, we just didn't go. And it was also almost a situation like we didn't even know how we were going to get there. I guess we like didn't even have a car at the time. I don't even know what that scenario was, right? But like it was just meant to not happen because here she is. She is almost 9 years old and just living her best life.
That's awesome.
It is such a beautiful ending to that stress for you.
That was just a time that it was heartbreaking. It really was because, you just told me my baby's just going to essentially pass away.
Right.
Like, terminate. Your baby's most likely going to pass away. You don't know what's going on here.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart that I almost made that decision to do that,
But you didn't.
I did not.
And tell me about her. Tell us about her.
Oh, that little girl.
What was her diagnosis after birth? Since they were kind of like unsure, it sounds like exactly what was going to be the case.
So at first it was hydrocephalus, which I'm not quite sure if you guys are fully aware of.
It's like swelling or water on the brain or something?
It's like where the skull doesn't fully develop?
So
we're just guessing.
So
I've heard of it.
They called it, like back in the day, it was water on the brain, but essentially it's just a buildup of spinal fluid on the brain because it, works through and it goes to the brain, works back down, whatever. She has a situation where a part of her brain, which I'm not going to get all doctory on you guys, did not develop properly.
Okay.
So what happened is the spinal fluid just built up on the ventricles. Now, the good thing is by the time that I was 30 weeks pregnant with her, it stopped. Her ventricles did not get any bigger after 30 weeks, but they were prepping me. They were just like, you still don't know what's going to happen here because they were like, her ventricles are just so big that her brain matter might not even be there. So at first it was hydrocephalus. And then throughout the years, because of never dilating, like her ventricles not dilating, they kind of dropped it down to what they call ventriculomegaly. So essentially she just has dilated ventricles in her brain. I will say that has caused a plethora of other issues. She started having seizures at 14.
I was going to ask about epilepsy.
Yeah, at 14 months old, she started having seizures. One of the most horrific things to deal with is just having to sit there and watch your child have a seizure, especially that first time when you don't know what's happening.
Have no idea.
You just think that like your baby is just kind of, it wasn't this like big grand mal thing that happened. She was just laying in her crib staring off in the distance and we're thinking, oh, she's tired. She's probably just about to fall asleep. And it's like, no, there's no response happening right now. So that journey started of finding what's best for her and like all of the trials and tribulations, the hospitalizations. Her first seizure, she had to get life flighted to Tampa because the local hospital really couldn't
Right, they don't have that yet.
Yeah, they couldn't really do anything for her here. So I had to put my baby on a helicopter.
That's so scary.
Oh, gosh. That was probably the worst 3 hours of my life.
Yeah.
Just, oh, here's my baby. Go ahead and put her on a helicopter.
And then we'll drive there and meet you. Oh, my God.
Yeah. Yeah, that was so awful. But, you know, over the years, little things here and there. In the midst of that, all of the autism diagnosis started happening in my children. It was almost like a same situation with me, right? Like my siblings were just so like handfuls that I was like on the side, like just kind of living my best life. We were so focused on our youngest that like, oh, my oldest is 3. He's not talking.
Right.
Like, wait, what? Like, oh my gosh, we weren't even like paying attention to like, we were just taking care of babies because it was baby after baby. So it's like, oh, okay. So, you know, you start that whole process of taking them to doctors and it's like, okay, here's autism diagnosis number 1. Okay. I'm just going to say it for what it is. I love my children so much, but that was a hard pill to swallow.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
You know, it's something that we embrace, right, at this point, and especially nowadays. But back then, it was just, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean that that's my child? Like,
right.
Okay, it was a hard pill to swallow, but we deal.
And then you probably are thinking, like, what could I have done to change this? What could have caused this?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure your wheels are spinning too. Were you ever considering, like, I hate to say it this way, but like the stuff that you did, the addiction that you had, that had an effect on your children at all?
That's something that's always been on the back of my mind. Even, you know, did I mess things up so much that like this is what like almost like a karma or something is? Or was it just kind of like this?
I can see how that can go through your head. I don't, however, think any of that is the case or it's your fault that this is the case for you.
But I really thinking, don't. Like, if I were in your shoes, what would be going through my mind?
Yeah, I would think that too. But I don't necessarily. I mean, there's people that have never touched a drug in their life, and they have kids with autism and kids with, what was the diagnosis you said?
Ventriculomegaly.
Yeah, that one. You know, I mean, it's named for a reason. Somebody else had it too, right?
Yeah.
They might have not touched any drugs.
I think I probably blamed myself for not having the bandwidth to take care of so many children at once. Like I did it. They, you know, everybody,
same girl.
Right? Everybody's needs were met. But like, again, I think we were just so focused on what was going on with the youngest that even, you know, like, how was my oldest even feeling at that time?
Right.
And, you know, thinking like right now, like, was she even okay? Was she upset by everything that was happening? Like, she was on the sideline hearing all of these things going on. Like, and I never even thought to like check in with at the time, I think she was like 10 or 11 by the time that I had my youngest. Like, I just wasn't even thinking, you know? And then it's like, did I not spend enough time with my oldest son to where now, like, we are at this point in our lives. Like, okay, he's not talking, can't potty train him because he's not talking.
It's hard to, like, that old phrase, hold space. It's hard to really hold space for everybody's everything at all times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It
was
a lot.
How much you can do.
It was so much.
Yeah.
So,
just
you know,
in survival mode.
That's what it is.
Yeah, definitely. And with you know, my youngest, like, okay, that big thing happened. She was born the way that she was born. We didn't know if she was going to need brain surgery upon birth. She had to stay in the NICU for a week. So, like, you know, her first week, I wasn't even there for her because I had 3 other kids 2 hours away. I had to give birth to her 2 hours away from home. So with that, like, you know, all of a sudden, okay, now we have one child with autism and we're doing all the things that we need to do. We're doing the speech therapy, the occupational therapy, all of the doctor's appointments and the running around.
Your life is dictated by doctor's appointments now.
Exactly. Still almost, you know, same thing going on with my youngest where, you know, the seizures are starting and the EEGs, the EKGs, the wires, the poking, the prodding of everybody and everything going on. In the midst of that, okay, well, what's going on with my second one here, with my third one, I should say, probably. It's our second. And push come to shove, it's like, it was almost the same thing. It was like, wait a minute, now, you know, he's not doing this and he's not doing that. We're down this road again.
I wonder if it's just a genetic connection that you and your partner have together that it's a wiring thing between the two of you. It could just be something simple like that.
That is definitely something we've thought about because I definitely have neurological situations on my side of the family. I have an uncle with Down syndrome. There's been multiple people in my family with neurological situations.
Right.
And I think autism on his side of his family is very prevalent as well. But we didn't know at the time. So, okay, we are, second autism diagnosis. Okay, we're going to do all the things. We're going to do the speech therapy and still go down the same road that we did for the first one, and now they're doing it together. Okay, cool. We still have number 3 who's dealing with her own physical situations. And then, she gets her autism diagnosis as well, amongst the little things here and there that she was in, those therapies for. There was a point in time where my youngest had a helmet for like the shaping of her head, a tube collar. So essentially, it's like a collar that went around her neck to keep her head in a certain position. So like she wouldn't tilt and kind of like get stuck, essentially. She had these like little mitts on her hands because she just kept her hands like this. Like she was just forced closed all the time.
Like a fist.
Yeah. So she had to keep like these little mitts on. So it's like, here's all of the apparatuses and the medications and just kind of, all right, this is it. Right? Like,
were you even able to work?
I was.
Wow.
Yeah. I was, well, let me go back. I was up until I had her.
Okay.
And then her first year, I did not.
Okay.
It was just too much.
Because like everything you're saying, I'm like, how could you possibly?
No, yeah, that first year of having her was a lot. All 3 of them were in diapers at the same time. So just it was just chaos.
And how did your husband... Because when you had this 4th baby, was he clean by the time she was born? Because we kind of left off with them trying to push you into termination, and you're really considering it because, not only do you have a lot going on, but you also have a husband in full-blown, or a partner in full-blown addiction.
He was not. Now, let me go back a little bit. He was in full-blown addiction probably for the first 5 or 6 years of our relationship.
Okay.
So this is from beginning to having our last child. It was really bad while I was pregnant with our last one. And I think just kind of dealing with the unknown, it was just kind of his way of just kind of getting through it. It wasn't until he actually, got pulled over. He was driving. He got pulled over. They did end up taking him to jail, and he did 3 weeks in that jail. And I was about to have our baby. I was literally, when he went in and he was in there for 3 weeks, I was 3 weeks away from having our baby. Yeah. He, did the arraignment, and they were like, you try to give that sob story to that judge of just like, listen, she's about to have a baby. The baby's going to be special needs. Like, what can we do here? And that judge was like, not my problem.
Do the crime, serve the time, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Was that his first time in jail?
No.
Okay.
Listen, the crybaby tattoo. Come on.
She's got thing for bad boys.
Yeah, I have a
Johnny Depp. Does he look like Johnny Depp at least?
Not at all.
Okay. Fine. I was going to say at least that could be his saving grace.
No, not at all. Not at all. But it wasn't in the oddest situation where the judge is telling him essentially, not my problem. I hear you, not my problem. Right? You're going back to jail. I gave birth to our youngest. I want to say it was a Friday. He somehow got out Thursday night.
Oh my God.
The Thursday before I had her, I'm thinking like it's going to be me.
Who's going to watch the kids? You have to give birth 2 hours away. Like, what is going to happen?
I'm thinking, and at this point, like my parents are still in New York. So I thought that I was going to have to be like, Mom, Dad, you're going to have to emergency flight it because I don't know what I'm going to do. And I thought that I was just going to have to like somehow hightail it from Cape Coral to Tampa to have this baby on my own. We ended up figuring out a plan where his mom was going to more than likely be with me while he was in jail. I get a random phone call of like, I need you to call so-and-so family member. They let me out and I have to go back on Monday.
Dang.
So he gets let out either the day or two before I had her. I have her that Friday. We spend the weekend in the hospital. He goes back into jail that Monday because they told him to come back and had to do another 3 weeks.
Wow.
Okay. But I bet that judge had something to do with that.
We will never know.
We
will never know.
I mean, what are the chances?
Because I was out of the hospital at that point. I had to leave our youngest in the NICU because I have to go back to the other 3 kids. I go to that court date with him just to be like, okay, you know.
And you're recovering from giving birth, too.
3 days ago.
Yeah.
Right over.
Yeah.
Did you have her vaginally?
Mm-hmm.
You did?
Yeah. Well, that's why, like, I kind of had to, like, schedule having her. Like, I had to be induced with her because the local hospitals here in Cape Coral, like, I'm not touching that. You're giving birth 2 hours away. So I had to go there. They had to do an ultrasound to make sure her head circumference wasn't too big to the point that I couldn't naturally give birth. Thankfully, I was able to do that.
Yeah.
For you. Well, you also had 3 kids to kind of widen that hallway.
To just, you know... to give
I've had 4 kids. Okay, listen, I got a hallway.
Your 4th one just kind
Slips
of
right out.
It's like a slippery dolphin
That's
this point. Like they just fall right out.
That's
I can't imagine. My 3rd one came out really quick, so I can't even think like if I had a 4th,
it just fall right out, slip, like a slip and slide.
Yeah, honestly, my 2nd was my fastest delivery.
Yeah,
to be honest,
my 2nd was my smallest.
My 1st one was my smallest.
My 1st
baby.
one was my 2nd smallest.
But yeah, that's essentially what happened. I had her on a Friday. We stayed at the hospital over the weekend. Essentially had to take my boyfriend back to jail on Monday. And what's probably most hysterical about it is, okay, he has his court date. We're sitting there. He gets called up. The same judge that was like, you're not getting out. That's not my problem. Was like, how did you get out?
Yeah.
That's exactly what he says to him. He's like, how did you get out? And he's just like, I don't know, you let me out.
Yeah. But I'm back.
Yeah.
Like, at least he's trustworthy that he's going to come back and they're not going to put a warrant out for him or something. Like,
exactly.
That's good.
So,
that shows good, like, I mean, this sounds responsibility. Like,
I
what a
guess.
weird word to use in this situation, right?
Yeah.
But like, he's showing up. He's going to do his 3 weeks. A lot of people would just hide out.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you told him to be back and he came back.
That's
so
right.
Here he is. There you go.
Showing some kind of initiative.
Yeah. But I will definitely say, you know, he has his own story to tell, but he went through a lot during my final pregnancy as well. He had a lot of health situations that happened with him. So it was dealing with that on top of everything else that life was at the time. And I hate to say that, like, my daughter saved him because he does have other children, but she did.
Yeah, of course.
Did.
I think that's okay to say. Sometimes you grow up and something has to smack you in the face.
Yeah. I mean, I'm comfortable with saying it. Maybe some people are like, well, what, the other ones like weren't good enough for him to stop? I don't think that that's the case. I just think there was just so much going on with her that, like,
he had to focus.
It was time to, like, just buckle down. Could you imagine him either being in jail or just not even surviving?
Right.
And then I would just have all of these kids by myself.
Right.
So
something clicked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he did another 3 weeks after me having her. That was a time frame, let me tell you. Even though it was just 3 weeks, I had a baby 2 hours away in the NICU that I really didn't even have a way to go and be with her. So, like, I'm calling a NICU every 2 to 3 hours. Bless those nurses.
I had a baby in the NICU for 10 days and they actually let me stay there, and that was hell.
Yeah.
It's like,
But that was her first kid. She didn't have any other kids to, like, have to be around.
Yeah.
But the emotional toll, like the postpartum, the hormones are all changing. Your body's going through all the things. Everything's trying to heal.
Everything's leaking.
Go back together. You're bleeding.
And that
milk's dripping out of you. There's so much going on.
Yes, so much. And, like, that is also when I decided my first 3 children, breastfeeding wasn't for me. I just couldn't see myself doing it. Knowing that this was, 1, going to be my last baby, and 2, that it's probably, I just felt like it was what's best for her. So I also decided to start a breastfeeding journey at that time.
Did you just pump while the baby was in the NICU?
Yes. I exclusively pumped, and then she was there for a week. And then when she came back, that baby did not know how to latch.
Right.
So, like, I also, like, missed out on that experience. So I exclusively pumped for, like, a good 3 months.
Free.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. I mean, it was monetarily, yes, I was plugged into a wall.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Yeah. On top of having, you know, the other kids, which I'm sure every other mom has had that experience, you know, if they choose to do so. So, like, life was just kind of lifing at that point, right? Like, it was just chaos at all times.
It was lifing pretty hard.
Yeah,
it was.
It really was. And then, like everything I said before, this kid gets an autism diagnosis. We move on to that second one that gets an autism diagnosis. My youngest is still, even though she's basically just a potato at that time, just kind of being there. She still has her own things going on and having to move forward with her. She gets an autism diagnosis.
How old was she when she got diagnosed?
I want to say 2, but her first 2 years, we did the epilepsy diagnosis she got. She needed all of the equipment and the apparatuses just to be a person. And then she had glasses by the time that she was 8 to 10 months old. She had like these little white dots in her eyes, and all of the doctors are just like, she can see. And we're like, okay. And then we finally get her to a different doctor that was just kind of like, hey, we noticed these white dots in her eyes. What is that? And they're like, go see an ophthalmologist. Okay, cool. Your child has bilateral cataracts.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, so was she able to see this whole time or no? Because
a little baby with glasses?
Oh
my god.
Glasses, a helmet, gloves.
Oh my
like,
Poor sweetie.
like she doesn't know any better. So like we're all just like, oh my God, this poor baby. And she never peeped.
Of course.
Through a thing.
Yeah. I get a paper cut and I can't stop talking about it for 3 days.
Yeah.
But then you've got this little baby angel who goes through all this little stuff or all this big stuff, and she doesn't say, it is what it is.
Yeah, she was
I am weak.
Yeah, like, could you imagine, like, no, I don't want no dang gloves and a this and a that. And, like, it was, I can't see myself doing that.
Right.
She doesn't know any different.
Yeah, she didn't know any different. But, like, it was just, everything was just, like, nothing to her. Like, she just kept
just
whatever.
Roll with the punches. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's so great.
Exactly. And just, living her best life. We're all just kind of living our best lives. And then I take my now 3-year-old youngest at the time to a regular, like, kind of sick appointment. Like, I noticed, like, a cold was lasting a little bit too long. And they're like, we hear something. And I'm like, okay. They're like, she has a heart murmur. I'm like, oh, gosh. Okay, here we go. So with that, they're like, all right, time to take her to cardio. And I'm really hoping for the best, even though my mind doesn't go there a lot. They're like, no, she has a hole in her heart. So finding out that your 3-year-old needs open heart surgery. After we were so focused on her brain.
Yeah.
Right? Like 3 years of, okay, is she having a seizure? Is she not? Is she just getting tired? Is she just really intensely playing? We were just so focused, right? That we were like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
Did you just tell me that I've been focusing on neuro for 3 years and dealing with all of that you just told me my kid has a fucking heart problem?
And how did you
how did
you miss this?
Yeah.
Not you, but like
them.
The doctors.
No, honestly, her first 3 years of, again, like I said, poked and prodded and doctor and blood tests.
You would have thought that would come up, right?
Yeah.
Just listening to her heart, wouldn't you know?
Yeah. And listen, I know that probably finding a heart murmur, I'm not a doctor, it's probably pretty hard,
Yeah, because a lot of people have. I remember my grandmother lived her whole life with a murmur.
Yeah.
But it was just what it was. I mean, I get weird flutters in my chest all the time. I'm like, I wonder if I have one.
Yeah.
I think my chiropractor actually said, I think you got something. I'm like, okay, don't tell me anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to know.
Yeah. So we're like, oh, fun. Okay, let's go ahead. Now we have to, hand our 3-year-old over to a heart surgeon.
Right.
Something that we were not expecting at all. Everything, really, it went well. Everything is great. And now she's just a little warrior. She just lives her life. I remember the heart surgeon telling me she's going to be the strongest kid in her class. And I'm like, okay, I'm not really thinking. He's like, well, we have to wire her rib, like her sternum back up. Like after we get in there, we have to like wire it back shut. Oh. So like she's going to have her, she's going to be the strongest kid there because she's just, full of steel now. And I'm like, okay. So we just kind of move on. I will say that that's kind of when I took a turn for myself.
In a positive or negative way?
This is when I could not stop focusing on my own type of physical situation. Like I'm going to say negative in a negative way because now I'm like, okay, her first couple of years, sleeping wasn't a thing.
Right.
It just wasn't a thing, especially after having her first seizure. There was actually one time where she had a seizure in her sleep and we woke up the next day and she had like vomit on the side of her face. And we were like, she probably had a seizure. And we had no clue because she was just sleeping. So having her and just kind of dealing with all of those things in the background, because I'm just so busy and I'm not realizing what's going on, I'm noticing a turn in myself. Again, sleeping wasn't really a thing. I was constantly checking on all of my children in the middle of the night. It would be like every 2 to 3 hours, like a newborn, of checking on them. And then
You're becoming a hypochondriac. Is that what you're getting at a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly probably is what was happening. And I was just kind of dealing with it. And then over time, the panic attacks start setting in, you know? I realized that like I'm thinking of these things that can go wrong, like, oh my God, my toe hurts. It's got to be cancer, right? Because my toe hurts, so there's probably cancer in my toe. I would go to the ER.
Right.
Like it was just, I could not stop thinking about if these things can go wrong in such tiny little humans, they have to be going wrong for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah. They have to be going wrong for me.
Yeah.
So I went through years of just like, at first it was really subtle, like it would happen every so often. And then it became really prevalent for me. Almost every other month or so, I'm having a panic attack thinking that like I'm dying because I decided to Google something really stupid.
Don't ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go to Google and Google your symptoms.
Yeah.
How did you...
You're dying.
How did you realize that this was an issue? Like, was there something specific that happened to you where you're like, whoa, wait a minute. I've got something going on here that I need to like address because nothing's actually wrong with me.
Well, to kind of backtrack a little bit, I think what really happened is my parents, they decided to move down. This is years prior. And then I get a phone call that my mother fell on the floor and she can't get up. And I'm like, okay, so we're going to run over there. Well, there was, you know, an altercation between my parents, and that's why she couldn't get up off the floor. So, okay, we're going to send my mother to the hospital, so on and so forth. You know, to kind of get through all of that, we find out that she's just riddled with cancer at this point. Like, we take her in because of the altercation that happened.
Right.
Because her back was broken, her hip was broken. And we were like, what?
How bad was he hitting her for that to happen?
Exactly.
But then if she's riddled with cancer, likely in her bones, they're brittle.
Exactly.
It might have not even been that. I mean, all abuse is bad.
Yeah.
You know, but it might have not been
exactly
what the original thought might have been, I guess.
So that's when we found out that she had cancer. And essentially, I guess the way that they said it started out as breast cancer and probably just kind of worked its way through.
And she had no idea?
She had no clue. She had no clue. And I think, like, you know, to kind of like think back on what everything was, right? Like even all the way back to childhood and how I grew up in that like in that home, that type of home. I think she was always depressed just from day one.
Yeah.
You know? And I think it was just something that she just didn't really take care of herself that well.
Right.
So when we found out about her cancer, that's when it got really bad for me. Like it was always, you know, every few months I would have that panic attack. When I found out about her cancer, and then also she moved in with me full time at that point, and having to take care of her, that's when my own mind really started going. Because it's an unfortunate situation where the women on that side of my family don't make it past 65 years old. Like as of right now, I'm not entirely sure, but she was only 5 days away from 62 years old by the time that she passed away. So
yeah, my mom's the same age. So I'm thinking she's 61.
Yeah. So it was just her cancer diagnosis and having to take care of her throughout all of that is when it got really bad for me. You know, if I had a, you know, like a random headache, I would just start panicking. If my stomach hurt, I would start panicking. For whatever reason, it was like, no, I'm dying in this moment. It's happening now. It's happening now. And I think it was just because of like, it happened so fast for her that I was like, it's got to be the same way for me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think I like started thinking of how she was throughout my whole childhood of like, I never realized that she was just this really depressed woman, you know? And she had 4 kids. I was a depressed person. I had 4 kids.
You were you were copying all of the same things.
Yeah. I mean,
you know?
I think the only difference was almost like I was a full-time working and my mom never really, never did. So like, I just kind of had this like random moment of just kind of like, oh, so this is what's going to happen to me.
Right.
And it took over.
How bad did it get for you?
I was probably I want to say like the last 2 or 3 months of my mother before she passed away. I was probably in the ER like every other week, if not multiple times a week.
Wow.
Is that when you kind of realized like, hey, this is a problem?
That is when I realized what it was doing to my little family,
Right.
to my partner, to my children, of them having to see me panic and have to run to the hospital. I just couldn't do it anymore.
What did your spouse or partner say to you? Like when you were freaking out, was he just like, I mean, whatever you need to do to make yourself feel better, go ahead and go?
He would always support me in that
Okay.
time frame. Like if I'm like, no, I need to go and I need to go now, he would definitely take care of me. Like he would be like, all right, if you really feel like that you need to go, we'll go.
Right.
And like I just had to stop. It wasn't a way to live.
It's almost like another form of an addiction.
No, honestly. And
It's
you know
like
what?
mirroring your experience. I mean, it's almost like mirroring the stress of the hoarding and the hoarding that your parents went through. Now you're kind of hoarding issues, like
Yeah.
of, physical problems.
Of course, you're talking about like coming to terms and realizing like this is having not just an effect on me, this is having an effect on my kids and on my family. But like, how did you break free of that? And did you before or after your mother's passing?
I would definitely say that it was after. And the only way that I can really explain it is it's always there. I'm not going to say that I broke free.
Okay.
It's always something that's in the back of my mind. It's what am I going to do to get through those moments? I had a different, belief system. I just kind of like changed my mindset on that.
Yeah. Elaborate on that. How did you change your mindset and what tools or things did you seek to help you get there?
Honestly, there really isn't anything specific. It's just like telling myself, just get through, just breathe through. This is just a moment in time. This isn't your life, right? It's like, okay, I'm starting to feel the ramp up. Just everything's going to be okay. Talking myself through it, breathing through, understanding that I have people to take care of. But at the end of the day, I need to take care of myself, right? And just kind of changing my mindset during those episodes and during that, whenever that I started feeling that happening, I was just kind of like, nope, everything is fine. You're okay. Breathe through the system, let it go, and it would stop. I just wanted my life back, essentially. Like, I felt like I was in the hospital every other day. I was in the hospital every other day.
And what did they say to you? Are they like, you're fine?
Yeah. I mean, it's, doing the EKGs and running the blood work.
But the new bill of health every single time didn't ever put your mind at ease for the next visit?
Nope.
Interesting.
It would never.
And how's your husband? Is he sober now? How long has he been sober if he is? How's that
He
go?
has been clean for almost 9 years now.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Almost 9 years.
That was when he was in jail, and then after he went back for his 3 weeks, and then 3 weeks back, and he came out clean and stayed clean after that?
Yeah. I mean, because essentially what happened is he had to become full-time dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just...
I mean, he was dad prior to that, but like you said, your daughter saved him. Something finally clicked.
Well, he had to be more present.
And
exactly.
This one.
Praise God for that.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
If you're looking for a blessing in a shitty situation, there's a big one right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
We talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
But
you have to find them.
Yeah. It was just time to buckle down, and I had to go back to work, and our family dynamic is what it is. He had to now stay home with them, and I had to go back to work, and now we're just coasting. I will always have that hypochondria in the back of my mind. I try my best to get through it, but as of right now, we are over a year ER free. So I like to think of it that way, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of like
that's perfect. That's a great way to celebrate.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like a sobriety type.
Absolutely.
Right? Just all right. It's been a year. We're just gonna keep trucking.
Yeah.
Wow, you have quite a story, girl.
Yeah, you do.
I will say something that definitely got through that really harder time after my mom passed away. I work with a bunch of really amazing people, and somebody was just, who I'm close with and understands my story. They entered me into this running for Outstanding Women of Southwest Florida. And I actually made it.
What? Cool.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
You know, she just kind of gave a smidget of a backstory of how, I, am a practice manager of a veterinary hospital, which I could probably tell you 1,000,001 stories of being in that field in general, on top of having 4 children, 3 of which are special needs. She didn't get into a lot, but she's like, your story is just something that I've never heard before.
Yeah.
So she kind of entered that into like this radio contest thing that was happening. And like, I was like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. And then, yeah, I like made it into the top 10 because it was like a voting thing. And I had to go and like get an award.
Wow.
And everything. And I was just like, I didn't think
That's
that this was real.
Right.
Like, I was just kind of like, okay, yeah, cool, fun. There's like how many other women in this thing who like run fundraisers and like do all of these like amazing community
That's what
things.
I was going to say. A lot of these are probably a lot of community outreach people, CEOs of, some nonprofit.
Yeah. And I was just a busy former drug addict. It's
Right.
just what I am. Like, I'm just like, I just have
Right.
a lot happening and just kind of made it through like a really tough time. And like,
But that's so cool
it.
that you were recognized in that moment.
Yeah, and like it's just in the moment I wasn't thinking about it, and then my boyfriend's just like, "No, this is
a
good.
big deal.
This is a
Yeah.
big deal. This is good. Like you did great. You were a drug addict, and now you are part of like the top 10 outstanding women of Southwest Florida for the year of 2024."
That's
And I was like,
Right. I love that.
Well, obviously people are like, they see that resilience in you. And, I'm sure that spoke to a lot of people, because most people that are drug addicts, I don't think talk about it like in the way that you do. Like the courage that you have to really get that deep and gritty and to come out with that is you deserve to get an award and recognized for that, because you've completely, you've turned yourself around and you're living for your kids, and,
I appreciate
doing
that.
good.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, it is shame. It is, guilt, especially that I was doing this as a full-time mom at the same time. Like I still had 2 children while I was in full addiction. But the thing is, it's real.
Yeah.
It's real. Those things are happening every single day, And instead of me trying to hide it and just kind of feel like, oh my God, this was awful and I can't let people know, it's letting people know that there's another side.
Right.
There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, there's another side to this. It happened. You move on.
Yeah.
You just go forward.
That's the only way you can go.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm so glad you shared this
Yeah.
story. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
you coming in so much. Thank you.
We're so grateful that you joined us today. If this story spoke to you, share it with someone who might need it too. You can find us at ican'tevenimagine.com or connect with us on Facebook at ican'tevenimagine-a podcast for moms, or Instagram at ICEI_podcast.
And don't forget, there's purpose in your path, even if you can't see it yet.